But if you remember from Apollo 13, there's this scene in the movie where Ed Harris, who plays Gene Kranz, the flight director for Apollo 13, there's this scene where he like busts out a overhead projector or something like that, and what Ed says is, all right, guys, so here's the situation. The moon is here, the Earth is here, the ship is going here. We're going to come back around the moon, slingshot around the moon, and we've got enough oxygen, power, everything to get to here. The goal is what? And so he tees up this problem. He says, this is the situation. We got to figure out how to have enough oxygen, power, spaceship, whatever it is we need to get from here to here, because all we've got right now is this. And that means our guys are going to be dead here. We need to get them back to here. And then, if you remember that scene, I don't know if this is like anybody's favorite movie or anything, but if you remember that scene, what does Gene Kranz do after he lays out this situation? Remember, he's like in the room full of scientists. What does he do? Yeah, that was one of the things, right? And so that was the air filter problem. Not particularly what the scene I'm talking about. Anybody else? What's he do? Yeah. So it's a little bit of a trick question, because what he does in this scene is nothing, right? He tees up the problem. He says, this is the problem. And then he stops talking. And then a room full of, like, literally rocket scientists. You know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist. Well, in that particular case, it did. A room full of rocket scientists go about the process of doing what? Pardon? Solving the problem, suggesting ideas, try this, try that. And then one guy says, hey, it's all about battery power. We got to shut this thing off right now. But what happens is this process, which was developed by NASA, as it turns out, this process of solving really complicated problems in a very short period of time when you happen to have a room full of experts to help you do it. We call it team problem solving. That's what we call it, because that's what it is. It's teams solving problems. And so I'll tell you a little bit about the team problem solving process that we use, that our clients use, that people we coach use, and you guys are going to use it too, because we're all going to do it today. It's going to be, well, I'm not going to go all the way to fun, but it's going to be instructive. It might, for some people, it'll be fun. It'll be fun for me, and maybe a couple other people. So here's the way team problem solving works, and it's kind of based on this. Again, it's based on this idea of how would a room full of rocket scientists solve a problem? Because, you know, while it doesn't take a rocket scientist to solve most problems, it's awesome to have them around, because, you know, they might do it differently or better or faster. So here's how the team problem solving process unfolds. The whole thing, does anybody get the joke? Never mind. We'll talk later. All right. The whole thing, oh, here we go. The whole thing takes 10 minutes. Hey, you guys can't see the deal. Is that better? Yes. I'm sorry. Okay. We're good? Yeah. Okay. All right. You're like, 10 minutes, the whole thing. Now, there's two kinds of people in the world. No, I'm kidding. There's two kinds of people in the team problem-solving process. There's we'll call the first person, the person with the problem, we'll call them the client. And they're the client, and they're going to come and consult with the team. And then there's the team. So in a group of people, and by the way, you're already in your groups. Awesome. One person's going to be the client, and everybody else at that table, your guys are going to be the team. So what the client has to do is the client has to come up with, they have to bring their problem, really concisely stated. Maybe we'll just like think of one. What's your name again? Chris. What'd you write, Chris? Would you mind sharing that with the rest of the group? First of all, what's your awesome leadership strength? Skill and desire identification in others. You can spot something that somebody's good at. You can spot something somebody wants to do. That's nice. And what would you say your opportunity for improvement is as a leader? Patience with others. And does that show up as like an issue? Yeah? It does? You want to help me with an experiment? Pardon? You want to help me with the experiment? Does it involve you getting to the point? Damn. Okay, that's awesome. I'll do the jokes, just so we're clear. Okay, so can we experiment on you? Can we use you as, come on. Right? Sleepy, just had lunch, Chris. Thank you. Sleepy, just had lunch, Chris. You can sit on the thing if you want. Okay, now I'm going to ask, if it's okay, I'm going to ask you to kind of teach most of this. Okay. Because I'm the same. I just had a big sandwich across the street at the thing. You know what I did, though? What? Bob came along, and Tom was there. I let them do all the work of lunch. I didn't say a word the whole time. How did they digest your food? Pardon me? How did they digest your food? No, I didn't think that's not. No, that's not. All right. Okay, so here's the thing. Here's how it's going to go, Chris. You're going to come up with a problem, which we kind of already got to, right? We kind of already got to something along the lines of to do with patience. And I'll give you this thing. I'm going to get everybody working here. Is that okay? Megan? Yep. Would you like... Right? The lunch renders people a little smart alecky, too. You assume that's not my natural state of being. Yeah, no, I do not assume that. Okay, what do you suppose I want from you? If I just gave you... of paper. Thank you. I just gave Megan half the papers in the room. Miss Sarah, would you be so kind as to... One for everybody, except Tom McVeigh. No, I'm just kidding. He can have one too. All right. So here's what's going to happen. Megan and Sarah are distributing the team problem-solving worksheets. Everybody's going to get one. This is going to be yours. I'm going to bring you a pen because I'm assuming. I have an uncountable number of Marriott pens because I live there some. Okay. So what's going to happen with Chris is this whole thing is going to take 10 minutes. It actually, ironically, it takes longer to describe this process than it does to do this process. I know. This is a lot of things that fall into that category. So you're left-handed. I am. Lefty store on Pier 39. Have you seen it? I didn't know about it, no. There's a left-handed store on Pier 39. My friend Bob Katie, he's my neighbor. He owns that store and several like it. It's a cool store. Okay, so here's how the thing works. Now tell me, Chris, what do you first have to do for the team problem solving thing to even start?
Write your how-to question.
Oh, thank you. You have to write your how-to question. What is a how-to question?
The process by which you discover what your end result is going to be.
Okay. That's fancy. I'm going to say it
simple. Trying to get to the goal.
Okay, I'm going to say it a little simpler. So the how-to question is a really, really simple attack the problem, not the person way of expressing whatever the issue is. So if Chris's problem is, as a leader, he sometimes lacks patience, a how-to question for him might be how to...
Gain more patience?
Gain more patience. It is no more complicated than that, right? We always try to make things fancy and complicated. Most things aren't. Remember? Elementary school. So, how to gain more patience. And if you wanted to fancy it up a little bit, you could say how to gain more patience as a leader. But you don't even have to. You can if you want. So that's the first step, is you show up with a team problem-solving worksheet. We also have an app for that, if you're so inclined. But you show up with your how-to question. And then you say to the team, and like kind of, you guys are all going to be the team on this one big team, because we're going to do it. We're doing it right now. So what's going to happen next is step one. So you got your how-to question, and then what do we do first, Chris? What's the first thing that we do?
Discover the problem, background, and the facts.
Problem, background, and facts. Well, the way I would interpret that, the only thing that could possibly mean is for 1 minute, for 60 seconds, Chris is going to talk about the background and facts of the issue that brought him here, which is how to gain more patience. So he's going to tell us some of the background and facts. He's going to say, oh, I tried this, and for 60 seconds, he's going to talk, and we're going to listen. And it's going to be as simple as that. Now, when we're listening, we're going to go back and we're going to remember the lean-in ground rule, right? Because we're really going to listen. We're going to focus. We're not just going to wait for 60 seconds to go by. We're engaged in this process. Then, we will have a ruthless timekeeper in each group. I'll be the ruthless timekeeper for this one. At the end of 60 seconds, I'm going to say thank you, which, what does thank you mean? Stop. Done. So at the end of 60 seconds, wherever he is, he's done, because time is time. And then for 2 minutes, what happens after? What happens next?
We get questions from the team for 2 minutes.
Questions from the team for 2 minutes. And so, Scott, I know, lunch. It just happened. I get it. So Scott, when we're asking questions from the team, so you've listened to that 60 seconds, and we're going to ask Chris some questions about his how-to question, about his background effects, so that we can get better clarity, because we're about to start helping him. What kind of questions are you going to ask if you've got a room full of everybody and 2 minutes to ask questions? What kind of questions are you going to ask? Direct, succinct, to the point, closed-ended. Because, in the words of Mr. Wolf from Pulp Fiction, if I am terse with you, it's because time is short. Right? So we're going to keep it very tight, and we're going to remember that important things can't be discussed comfortably, so we're not going to go, when we ask our questions, we're going to kind of skip the preamble, right? You know, when you want to ask somebody a difficult question, you like to tee it up a little bit. Well, you know, once I kind of had a problem and I was a little bit nervous and I felt like maybe it would have been better if I didn't do something, so let me ask you this, right? Skip all of that. Skip all of the preamble. Just ask the question. Get the data. And we're going to do that for 2 minutes. So if you have a question, this is the time to blurt it out. Get the question asked and then let him answer it. Now, he's not going to qualify, and it doesn't turn into a conversation. It's very, very tight. Question, answer, question, answer, question, answer. 2 minutes, done. Then, what happens next?
We write suggested actions and steps for 5 minutes.
Suggested action steps. So for the next 5 minutes, there's that question, answer, back and forth thing. Then that's over in 2 minutes, and then the ruthless timer starts the 5-minute timer, and that's when we start to go around the room. And just so you know, Megan, we're going to start with you. And then we're going to kind of wander this way. And so you're going to give him a suggestion on how to be more patient as a leader. And then you're going to give him a suggestion, and you're going to give him a suggestion, and you might not have one, so you'll say what? If you can't think of something, what are you going to say? If you can't think of something, what are you going to say? Pass. Very simple, right? Because we're going to keep it moving. So then what we do is for 5 minutes in a smaller team, we'll go around the room as many times as it takes to either exhaust the 5 minutes or exhaust the suggestions. You go around the room and everybody passes once, then we know we're done. We keep going, 5 minutes, then we're done at the end of 5 minutes. Then what's the
Stop and jot.
Stop and jot. So that's 2 minutes. It doesn't say 2 minutes there, but it is. The last 2 minutes is stop and jot. So when they're making suggestions, Chris, what you're going to do is you're going to write them down. Mm-hmm. You're not talking, though. You're just scribing. You don't have to agree with them. You don't have to like them because you're not committing to anything at this point. You're just getting the data, writing down the suggestions. Then for the last 2 minutes, the rest of the team will not speak because time, focus. There will not be one gigantic sidebar while you're doing the last 2 minute part. You're going to pick the ones that you think are going to help, and you're going to put a date over on the right-hand side of this here. Okay. That's either going to be the date you're going to start it or the date it's going to be done. So some suggestions think, okay, I'm going to start doing this on this date. This will be done by that date. If you think of one that's not in there, you can make your own. Because that happens, right? Ideas bubble up. And then you can pick those. So you're going to commit to those things with dates at the end of 2 minutes, and also during that 2 minutes, you're going to let us know, okay, I'm going to do this, 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 and this. And then we're done. We got 10 minutes into this thing, and should we see how it goes now? You want to give it let's give it a whirl. Okay? You ready? What's the first part?
Problem, background, and facts for 1 minute.
Right? Sabrina, what's the second part? Dorothea? What's the third part? And then the last part? Stop and jot. And he does that, okay? So we're going to keep it really tight. We're going to manage time. You ready? Okay, go.
Okay, so the problem that I'm running into is that I'm having an issue with patience. It's a long-lasting problem. Sometimes feel like the world doesn't go as fast as I do, or maybe I'm not slowing down to their pace. And so I sometimes get tripped up in that. I'm very project-oriented. I'm very team-oriented. And sometimes when that project slows down, that team slows down, or the business model in and of itself slows down, it conflicts with my natural state of being. What I'm looking for here is something to kind of let me know when, or a trigger to let me know when that's happening. I'm not aware of it in the moment like I am in the aggregate. So I'd like something to come to me that says, hey, Chris, slow down, calm down, wait a minute, think this through again, double check, something like that to enable me to be a little bit more progressive, both in not just my career, but in my personal life as well. I wouldn't mind having something to the effect of like a trigger.
That's it. Rochelle, would you be the ruthless timekeeper now? 2 minutes. Tell me when we're starting.
Question?
Here it comes. Exactly. See, he's already doing it. Questions for the team? Tom, go.
What have you tried in the past?
I've tried becoming cognizant of it. I've asked friends and family around me to make me aware of it. It seems to last for a little while, but not always. Depending upon the project or the situation, yes.
Sir.
When you do a project, you have to go through status check. Not where you ask them, but they come to you and tell you where they're at. Yes or no?
Personally, no. Sometimes there will be built-in status checks.
Tough guy. That's my new best friend. Yes.
Fill a need just to fill empty space?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Corey.
Has this issue ever caused major conflict?
No.
Sophia.
Are you working with a lot of people?
No.
Do you focus with family or business aspect better?
Business aspect better.
Bing, 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 bing.
Awesome. Clever, because you can control that. Okay, I get it.
Could you send me that sound?
Okay. I know. I want that on my phone. Okay. So now what happens next? Does anybody remember?
Suggestions.
5 minutes of suggesting action steps. And who are we starting with? We're starting with Megan. Look, Sarah remembers. Okay, so we're going to start with Megan as soon as Rochelle says the timer goes, and then we're going to go around the room. If you've got one, say it. If you don't, pass.
Okay, go.
Damn.
I would assume that you might want to start with somebody you're more familiar and comfortable with and practice with them.
Okay. Serena, what should he do? Tell him what to do.
Meditation.
Meditation.
Develop a plan for your research.
Develop a plan. Yeah. Count to 10 before you speak. Okay. Carrie.
Always do those status alerts.
Do status alerts. Scott. Connie.
Listen and develop questions and
Listen and
statements.
develop questions and statements. Corey.
Empathize with others.
Empathize. Deanne.
Have someone give them some sort of a trigger when you're going into that mode.
Have someone give you a trigger or a code word when you start. Miss Sarah. Darcy.
Spend time analyzing whether or not a circumstance allows for speed, or realize that sometimes things cannot.
Michael.
Somehow
videotape yourself losing patience.
Ooh. Matt.
When you're talking to someone, give them how much time you have with them.
Okay. Jim.
Pause, meditate, put yourself in a
Pause, meditate. Happy place. Happy place. Stephen. You can take or leave these. Ashley. Okay. What? Jack. Okay. Say that again? Take a route to work that has the greatest amount of traffic.
So raise my blood pressure.
Jordan.
Maybe just practice breathing before you have a reaction.
Practice breathing. Okay. What do you think? Yoga. Jennifer. Step aside, take a deep breath. Anger management, counseling. Okay? You guys back there. Set expectations with the team. Have hard deadlines. Find something that makes you happy and do it when you're not happy. Yes. Okay. Sir? Outside stress relief. Ma'am. Pardon? That's the whole thing? Pass. Just kidding. You guys. Set benchmarks and timelines. Did we get to you guys? Tom, what do you think?
Note your triggers and see if it's a common recurring trigger every time you're patient. Maybe it's the same person or the same action.
Nice. Note your triggers. Sir. All right. Okay. Did you have enough paper?
Almost.
See, look. All right. Okay. Are you still ready, Rochelle? We're going to do the 2-minute thing now, and Chris is going to figure it out.
Okay, go.
Yeah. How much time do you think we have? About a minute left. Okay. So, Chris, also during this 2 minutes, you're going to tell the extraordinarily attentive team what you're going to do.
Okay, well, I do practice, I do meditation, I plan for patience, I am taking the advice to count to 10. Staying alert and consistent is something I'm good at. Listen and develop questions and statement is not something I'm good at, so I probably start.
All right. When are you going to start that?
7/1/2017.
Awesome. Thank you.
Trigger code word recognition is something that I am fairly good at. Time analysis and circumstances. I'm not really sure what that meant. Videotape losing patience.
Okay. All right. I'm going to give you another few seconds. Keep going.
Time analysis and circumstances. didn't know what that meant. Videotape it losing patience, I think, was one of the best suggestions that I heard. I put down now for that, or I will put down now for that.
Okay.
Set time expectations, I do that. Internal analysis is one that I set up for December. That was also in conjunction with confronting the team.
Okay.
Making my route to work harder was really good, but I don't think I'm ready for that yet. Breathing is something that I practice, and it does take practice. Setting expectations with the team, I'm very good at that. Looking at my happy stuff, I'm not really ever unhappy. Setting benchmarks and timelines, I'm really good at that, and noting triggers is something that I consider, but I think I've got that down for the world by now too.
Okay. So, you got stuff you hadn't thought of before?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Now, let me ask you, if I may, a couple of questions. Generally, overall, what do you think of that adventure?
It was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
A little bit anxious, but at the same time, it provided, I don't want to sound like a generic person here, but valuable insight as to what I need to do.
Okay. Do you feel like the team was trying to offer you helpful suggestions that would be helpful to you, or do you feel like they were kind of phoning it in?
I would say that mostly it was trying to be helpful though.
Yeah, and it mostly is, and this is a tough environment, you guys, and I'm not. The reason that I say that is the more you do this, the tighter you get with your team, the more it's gonna tend towards the former. We're really gonna lean in, and we're gonna work to help. We're gonna work for the betterment of the team. And we're going to continue to develop that psychological safety, which is, sort of practical impossibility in the small amount of time that we have together. But if you project yourself into your safe environment, into your work environment where there's people you know and trust, and you start doing this process, what do you think happens to the process?
Eventually you reach a point where they're doing it voluntarily.
Yeah, it starts to just become automatic. Now, let me ask you this about one more thing about this. In this context, how long is 10 minutes?
Not very long.
Not very long? How much do you get out of it?
Oh, that was a lot.
Yeah. So what ends up happening, in our experience, is this ends up being like the most effective 10 minutes, right? And so you guys are 5 people, 4 people at a table. 10 minutes isn't 10 minutes, it's 50 minutes. So we're not working on solving this issue for 10 minutes. We're working on solving this issue for 725 minutes. No individual in this room could afford to pay for 725 minutes of your time to talk about how they might get more patient. But when we batch process, we break this process, we break this conversation up into the component parts, and we do all the him talking first, then we do all the you guys asking questions second, then we do all the you guys making suggestions third, we do all the him deciding what he's going to do about it last. We batch process all of that stuff, and we get rid of all the waste that happens in a conversation where Corey might say, so what do you think of this? And you'd be like, oh, that, oh, well, I did this, and boom, boom, boom. And just one question turns into 3 minutes of talk. So again, time is the only thing you can't get more of. If Chris becomes a more patient leader, he'll get more done. His people will trust him more. He'll be a happier guy, right? Even though he's kind of happy now. Right? Okay, so here's what